Like many in today's troubled economic times, some people have decided to start over in their careers or do what's called a second act. Our next guest is proof that it can not only be done, but you can be successful at it also. Please welcome Dr. Ron Wilk, a neurologist turned novelist, who's here to bring us some inspiring advice on the second act. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure.
Your story is unbelievable. And our viewers don't know, but you were a successful neurologist for 20 years.
That's correct.
And then you slipped down a flight of stairs, and your life changed forever.
Unfortunately, that's true.
Tell me what happened.
It was just a simple misstep, and I just traveled down a very lengthy staircase and injured my neck and my back to the extent that the resulting pain reached such an intensity that I was incapable of caring for my patients and ultimately had to leave my practice.
Did you try, at least after the injury, to do your...
I tried to work part-time, but it became so inconsistent, that is my schedule, with days where there were fully packed schedules, which I just had to cancel patients, or times where I'd have to be seated at my desk in front of a patient. I'd be overcome by such an intense headache that I just had to call it quits for the day.
So after you studied for 14 years to become that specialty doctor, and then 20 years of practice, how did that affect you emotionally? It must have.
Severely. I must say that I suffered, at least initially, all of the negative emotions that one experiences in situations like this, or perhaps with loss of job or change of life circumstances. All of the emotions up to and including depression, self-recrimination, alteration of self-esteem. It was a hard time.
And a lot of people are actually going through that right now. They've either lost their jobs or they're second-guessing what they're doing with their lives and maybe thinking about that second act, if you will. What advice would you give them? Because you did it in a very courageous way.
Well, I think that the first part is to recognize the fact that all of these negative emotions are normal. They're just part of a normal trend, a normal set of circumstances that one has to experience after any one of these kinds of incidents, whether it be an injury or loss of job, as you mentioned. But equally as important is the realization that that's just a chapter of your life, and that it doesn't necessarily mean that that's the end of your life. You can open a new chapter. You just have to be willing to do so. You have to be willing to look into the future, to consider various possibilities, to be open-minded, even think out of the box at times. And sometimes just the search for your next chapter, or for whatever your next endeavor will be enough to lift that veil, that dark veil.
And your next chapter was to become a novelist.
Correct.
Tell us about that.
Well, it actually didn't start off as writing rather into the writing realm. I did go to law school for a short period of time. I saw that as my second chapter.
Okay.
But sitting at a desk for many hours studying and reading and what have you became a little bit too intense for me in terms of pain. My neck and my back pain intensified to the point where I eventually had to withdraw from that as well. But what I got from law school was the fact that I really enjoyed writing. And not too long after that, I produced two novels, Red Death and Caballeros, both of which I published to my website, ronwilkfiction.com. And to date, there have been hundreds of thousands of downloads. And more recently, Papal Rogues was released by Langdon Street Press.
Tell me about Papal Rogues.
Papal Rogues is a story about computer hacking that involves the U.S. military, a rogue factor of the papacy, and several young individuals. But there are many interesting characters in the book. In fact, there are several very powerful female characters, one of which is an assassin, and the other is a computer hacking genius who teaches the male counterparts more than a few tricks.
For someone out there that's saying, what am I going to do with my life? Fill in the blank for them.
Well, I think the most important fact is to keep in mind that the word you used is blank, is that your life can start off with a blank page. You can fill in whatever you like, meaning you can find a hobby that you'd like to expand upon as your next endeavor, whether it's remunerative or not. You can find a new job. You can find, there are so many different things that people can do. We're all born with the basic potential to accomplish many different things. And just because we have sort of localized ourselves into one specific form of endeavor, let's say, whether it be as a mechanic or whether it be as a secretary, or that really doesn't matter what that particular form of work is. It's only one aspect of your innate potential.
Thank you so much for your inspiring story. I really appreciate your time.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Ron. And if you'd like more information on Ron's novels, or to read, of course, Papal Rogues, or to read his advice on creating the second act, as he's done so well, simply visit the website ronwilkfiction.com.